Wow, what an ending! Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
What is going on, bud smokers and movie lovers, and welcome back to another episode of 5 on It. We are your hosts. I am Francisco.
And I'm Sir Frazier.
And on today's episode, we are reviewing a sci-fi GOAT, undeniably. It is part of a franchise that is widely known and beloved. We are talking May 4th, which is obviously May the 4th be with you. But around 5 on It, we do May the 4th for a couple of weeks. So we are reviewing the best movie of each trilogy in Star Wars. And this week, we are doing The Empire Strikes Back. I know that might be there's some argues of which of the original trilogy is the best movie, but I think we came to the consensus that it's Empire. And but before we dig into the weeds on that, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, drop your comments below, drop your GOAT Star Wars movie below. What's some of the stuff that you loved about Empire? Maybe some of the stuff you didn't like, even though there's probably not that many, honestly. But Sir Frazier, tell the people what we're smoking on.
Man, I'm picked up a joint from Alta Gardens. It's Amnesia Haze. I'm not sure if this is more of a hybrid. I think it might be a hybrid. But yeah, man, so far so good.
We're going to see how much this amnesia comes into play.
No, for real. Let's hope not too much. Not when we're talking about this movie. But yeah, so this movie was released in 1980. It's directed by Irvin Kershner. It stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Billy D. Williams. Man, with this movie, I got to call out the GOAT, John Williams. The music part is such a big highlight for me in this movie.
Oh yeah,
among several others. But this movie was nominated for Best Art Direction, Best Sound, and Best Music. Again, in credit to John Williams' work. But the film won for Best Sound and a Special Achievement Award for Best for Visual Effects. That's went to the awards that it won. Man, I read. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say.
No, for sure.
I was going to say, dude, that's honestly the first thing that stands out in this movie. I feel like are the effects, because to be honest, like I've seen parts of Empire. I know about it and everything, but I haven't actually sat down and watched it front to back. So this is the first time I've done that. And for it to come out in 1980, this shit still looks fucking amazing. And I was just trying to put my mindset into like watching this for the first time in that year. I mean, this is what 40, almost 50 years ago that this movie came out. Mm-hmm. So it's like looking at this movie when it came out then, like I can honestly see why it changed so many kids' lives, especially kids. I can see why it's changed like filmmaking and just like lives in general of like fans, because it's like when you watch it like in the 80s, you're like, God, this looks amazing, because it still looks amazing almost 50 years later. So that's just like a huge standout for me. That's the first thing that pops for this movie for me.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, multiple times throughout this conversation. But to your point, while we're on the topic of special effects, the actual team was made up of, for sure. Was made up of 90 craftsmen, and they worked 14 months on the film and spent $7 million on the visual effects. This movie actually went $10 million over budget. And
made it back.
One of the things that I wanted to say was that George Lucas's experience in the first Star Wars movie really was frustrating, and he wanted to have more autonomy and not have to deal with the studio company trying to essentially make business decisions over his vision. So he put a great deal of his own financial resources into this movie, from merchandising from his other companies. I mean, I think, if this movie didn't succeed, he probably would. We're talking about bankruptcy. Like this is a tremendous success story in that regard, but it's not. It's rare especially to produce something as much as this. I mean, this movie was kind of coming off the heels of one of the greatest box office movies ever, and it really, this movie, this franchise is really kind of credited with kind of demonstrating to Hollywood how financially lucrative it could be.
Yeah.
Because this franchise, with the merch, with the sales, it was just so successful.
I think it was a very calculated, like, it's a huge risk, but it was a very calculated risk too.
Oh, on his part especially.
Because it's coming off the success of like the first one at least. So you at least know that, okay, here's like an audience for like what I'm making right now.
And now you have the anticipation, and for this movie to be as successful as it was, I mean, it had a budget of $30 million, and it at the box office it did over 530 minimum. Like, it's a little bit of a range, but that its minimum brought in 538.
Yeah, it says somewhere between like 538, 549. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, this is the movie that I think about, but it's absolutely true. This is one of those cases where the sequel's better than the first one.
That's, I kind of like had that thought in my head when I was watching this movie, where I was like, like there's not that many movies where like the sequel is better than the first one, but I want to say like maybe that kind of started like a little bit in the early days. It's kind of like gone downhill, maybe like more recently. But there was something like Godfather. They've arguably, like, the second one is better than the first one. That's like a popular one. This one is arguably better than the first one.
Terminator 2.
I feel like in the early days, like maybe that wasn't as like noticeable. I feel like it's kind of like gotten more noticeable as far as like the sequels getting worse than the original.
Well, and you've said this before too, at least in the context
Indiana
of Home
Jones
Alone
too. That's the one I was thinking of.
You've said this in previous conversations off mic, I think, with regards to Home Alone 2, where like a sequel, I think for some of movie history, sequels were often just a repackaged version of the first one. Mm-hmm. And this movie is significantly different. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back is different from A New Hope, significantly. The tone of this movie is dark. It's this. I mean, I'm trying to think. In every scene, you're conscious of the threat of the Empire. Like from the opening sequence on the snow planet, like, for example, right, where immediately there's not only, I mean, it's never mind the threat that Luke is facing because he's been mauled by this fucking Yeti.
The abominable snowman.
Yeah. The Empire invader is aware of where they're at, and they're sending forces there to take them down. And I mean, from the jump, we just see that these people are on the run from the Empire.
I feel like as soon as like Vader and like the Empire is like on like Han and Leia and everything like that, they're like chasing them, and they even like go through the asteroid field and all that.
That was
type
such
of
a
stuff.
great scene. Sequence, I mean.
Yes, very good. Like even like it's another standout with the effects too. It's like I was like trying to look for moments where I'm like, this shit looks terrible, and no moment actually looked like bad. Like there's some moments where I'm like, yeah, that definitely looks a little bit of green screenish, but it doesn't look like. Just doesn't look terrible. Even when they're going through the clouds, like when they go to Han or Lando's planet or whatever,
man,
that shit still looks great.
Yeah.
I'm like, this still looks amazing. But I feel like even like the pace of this movie is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Even like this is a tight, nice little just over 2 hours, I would say. But Han and Leia and Chewie, I feel like they're just on the fucking run from like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Then the asteroid field. Then they have I want to say a lull, but they're just kind of like fixing the ship and all that.
Yeah, the warp drive isn't working. This is what I'm saying. Like they're like, so at times, like it's like what will go wrong, what can go wrong will go wrong. Because you think about it, they're trying to navigate this asteroid field to evade the Imperial fleet, right? Mm-hmm. And they end up landing on one of these asteroids, and what they think is just an asteroid, but actually it's like some fucking asteroid worm.
Some snake or something.
Literally like in the mouth of this fucking worm. And so, boom, they're having to evade. While all the while they're trying to repair the ship. They think that everything's good. Warp drive fails on them. Mm-hmm. So, they basically they maneuver in a really clever way where they're actually they head at the fleet head on, and they end up anchoring onto the actual Empire ship. Like that was like a really great moment, but it's just like, you're just constantly like they're constantly on guard and on against the Empire
until like they finally, or a quick little segue. Didn't they use like, I'm guessing, miniatures or something?
Oh yeah,
because just like all the outer space scenes, it just looks fantastic.
Oh,
like,
dude,
with the stars and the ships, even like when they're flying away and you see the Falcon, like you said, perched on like the ship. It all looks great. And I'm saying, like, watching this in like in the 80s, being a young kid, that would have probably blew me away as well.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Like you said, they're on high alert. They're always on the run, and even as a watcher, we're just kind of like, not necessarily like gripping the seats, but we're just kind of, I mean, I'm watching and I'm just kind of enthralled in what's happening. Mm-hmm. And then you get to Lando and you think everything's like cool, fine and dandy for these characters.
Except for Leia. Yeah. Leia knew.
Leia knew something was off. But I mean, granted, like even once you find out that Vader's there and Lando kind of like double crossed him, he didn't really want to do that because he quickly makes it known that like they got here just before you did. I had no choice. Mm-hmm. And so like even from that moment, you're just like, God damn, he finally got. And then they end up, put Han through like some torture. Mm-hmm. Lando's kind of like talking him through, and even the dialogue with Vader and stuff like that about like, I can alter the deal. You pray that I don't alter the deal any further.
I love
his voice is so iconic, man. It's so great.
I love where he says, perhaps you think you've been treated unfairly.
Yeah.
To Lando, mm-hmm. He's like, no, I don't. Dude, I think.
It's one of those performances that, like, I don't want to interrupt you real quick, but it's like you don't even see the dude's face at all. It's just all voice and just like presence. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing. So just to circle back to the visual effects. I mean, blue screen shots were used over 600 times throughout this movie. One of the things that I did just really want to highlight is, from the opening sequence, right? Like the use of stop motion, the use of various size, like the Millennium Falcon, they had like several different models of varying in size, and like the way that, just like the practical effects in this movie. This movie is a visual achievement, and as far as just like set design, special effects, like this movie is. It is beautiful. It's such an enjoyable and entertaining watch. And this movie doesn't sacrifice substance for the visual style of it. Like, we get really great characters, seeing like the sexual tension between Han and Leia. And that fucking iconic moment where he's about to be frozen in carbonite and she says, I love you. And he says, I know. Like, it's just like,
I know, it's still him.
Dude, it's like, it's so enjoyable. And then like it also takes us further into the lore and world of, and tradition, I guess, of the Jedi culture, right? Where we go to Dagobah and meet Yoda, one of the most iconic and probably, I would say, beloved characters in the canon. Like the moments in Dagobah where he comes off as this, silly old, maybe senile resident of Dagobah, and then this is really just a facade to test Luke, and what it exposes and is the big issue for him and why he ultimately fails, which this movie is kind of like an Infinity War sense. Like, they fail in this movie. They're humbled. They're defeated. And we see traces of that. That's driving Luke in the sense that he is in a rush. He's in a hurry. He lets his emotions get the better of him, and he's impatient. Mm-hmm. And that's what, like that moment where Yoda is speaking to Obi-Wan and saying, he's too impatient. He doesn't, he won't go through the training. Yeah. And that's like that moment where we realize, oh shit, this is Yoda. Like, yeah. Dude. And then the puppetry of him, like the visuals of him. I mean, that's the actual home where he was in was, I think, less than 5 feet. And that, like, because it was such a small space, it allowed the puppeteers to maneuver him from underneath. Mm-hmm. And like,
it all looks so good.
It looks phenomenal, dude. Like, I mean,
and
it's hard for me to like hate on this. Like, I wouldn't even try. Like, it just looks so good.
Man, Yoda's personality, depending on like the order you watch it in, obviously, like if you watch it in order how it came out, it's not going to be as jarring. But I feel like if you watch this from like the first episodes to like how episode 1, 2, 3, whatever, I feel like from like the prequel to here, I'm not sure how he acted in episode 4. I have to actually go back and watch that now because I haven't seen too many of the Star Wars movies.
He's not in New Hope.
Oh yeah, because he is it. Yeah,
this is the introduction. This is the
right.
first time we see him on screen.
Yeah, because that's when they talk about Dagobah and then go train with it. Yeah, you're right. This is the first time we're seeing him. I feel like from episode 3 to this one, you're getting a way different Yoda. Like his personality just feels like so more like funny. Like even when he's just rummaging through his food and like he takes he takes the shit from R2 and everything like that. I feel like wouldn't he know R2 though? Because R2's been around for a minute,
right? But they stripped C-3PO's memory. They mentioned that at the end of Revenge of the Sith. The guy, the senator that adopts Leia. He towards the end of that, he does say have C-3PO's memory wiped.
Okay.
But that doesn't explain R2-D2. But then again, like who the hell can understand him outside of robots?
Yeah, that's true. But like even though like with CP3O and R2, like I feel like they're given. I mean, granted, like you can hear CP3O actually talk. I feel like they're actually given like some funny moments.
Oh yeah,
you can.
That's a highlight.
R2's still given like some personality to like even when he falls into like the mud on Dagobah, and he just pops up, and then like he's like maybe come in here was a bad idea, and his little latch opens and spits out all that fucking mud. There are some actual like some like nice or some funny moments in this movie as well. But quick thing I want to highlight as well. We kind of mentioned it, but just obviously the set design, the costumes, they have so many different places as well, whether it's Hoth on like that little ice frozen planet that they're at the beginning. Then you show like the Imperial ship with Vader and his people. And then you're jumping to like Dagobah where Yoda's from. Like all the places that they have, it just like everything just looks great. Whether it's like I said, from like the set to the costumes to just like the acting to fucking the effects, everything is just top notch in this movie. Well, nothing is lacking.
To also to your point, just like the level of detail in this movie. So for example, like the the artificial snow that they use was just like baking soda and microscopic like glass bubbles.
Yeah.
I read that it took 9 months for them to build the models for those Imperial snow walkers, and that like the actual movement was modeled off of elephants. I thought that was, and also a fun like thought that came to mind when I was watching this.
I know what you're
was
I thought the same thing
in Civil War.
Yep.
When Peter's is like, "You guys ever seen this really old movie called Star Wars?"
Yeah.
And Rhodes is like, "Jesus, Tony, how old's this kid?" Like, I don't know. I didn't carbon date the kid.
That's exactly what I thought when this scene popped up too.
His pop culture references are always fun.
Yeah, for real.
You guys seen this really old movie called Alien? Or no. What do you say? Because that's before they when they rescue Strange.
Oh yeah. In Infinity War when he shoots the latch out.
Yeah. What was I gonna say though about? So going back to like the actual like this how they actually got some of the sounds. So I read that they tapped on radio tower wires, and that was used for the sounds of the laser pistol being fired, and a parking meter. Contributed to like the cocking sound of the laser pistol. So like just like kind of like how they were actually able to like kind of like create these sounds that made like just this movie what it is from a audio standpoint. It's like just great, dude. I mean, what was I gonna say about? One thing I did want to call out for those who are really interested in just kind of getting like a breakdown of the special effects. There's a really fun documentary called SPFX, The Empire Strikes Back. It's just a documentary hosted by Mark Hamill where they really just give you a rundown of all of the like what it took to make this movie what it was, from the stop motion to the sound to the visuals, the models that they used. It's very informative. But yeah, I mean it's just a testimony to just like the creative process that went into like the background of it.
That should be pretty fun to check out.
Yeah, dude. One of the highlights for me is the Dagobah scenes where Luke is training, and when he tells him to go into that cave, and he said, he has this line where he says, "What was it?" He says, "Only what you take with you. That's all that you don't need. You don't need it. That's all you need. That's the only thing you're taking in there." But he took the lightsaber with him, and to me, like, it was him carrying his fear with him into that cave. And
he's like, just in case.
And the fear that he's facing is Vader.
Yeah.
And it's great foreshadowing of of the conflict that happens later in the movie.
Yeah.
This movie does a really good job of foreshadowing. Ben said, I lost Anakin. He kind of says something like that. I lost Anakin. I don't want to, lose you. I've already lost Anakin Skywalker, And that kind of comes, the foreshadowing of that, right, with the revelation of who Vader is.
Obviously, seeing like when he has like the vision or the dream, whatever you want to call it, of him fighting Vader. And
in the cave.
Chops the head off, and it's him underneath the
Yeah.
helmet.
Oh man, that was a really great scene.
It's kind of funny though, like because I wrote down that like I feel though that even though like I don't mind like the stuff with Luke and Yoda, I feel like Han though got the better story though, or the more fun story. At least just as a watcher, as a fan of Star Wars, just like watching it, I'm like, man, I would have rather have gotten like the Han story. Like you're flying around on this Millennium Falcon, chilling with Princess Leia, having like this little chemistry with Chewbacca. I'm like, I feel like Han got the better like storyline, just like the more fun, more entertaining. Then you go to like have like you're going through the asteroid field. Then you have then you're going to Lando. I mean, yeah, he ends up getting frozen and stuff like that. He doesn't have. I don't want to necessarily say I want to be Han. I just feel like as a watcher, maybe his story was a little bit more fun than Luke's. I mean, Luke's is more impactful because he obviously because he has the connection with Vader and everything. But it's just a little bit more fun watching Han's story, just him going through the asteroid field and having like the banter with Leia and Chewie as that. I was like kind of watching it too. I'm like, man, I wish they would have. I don't mind that Solo movie that came out, but watching that, I'm like, man, I wish they would have. That Solo movie would have came out years ago, and you could have had Harrison Ford play like come back as a Han. I mean, I guess you could have had it more recently too, because he was in Force Awakens. But just him, like him and Chewie's banter and him and Leia's banter.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Yeah.
I think so.
I guess you got me around a little bit longer.
I think that you're right. Yeah, you're obviously right that the storylines of Han, Leia, Chewie is more dynamic and it is funnier, but I think that Luke's storyline offers for me more substance, and it also kind of delves into the world, like I said earlier, about kind of gives us glimpses of like the tradition and history of the Jedi. It just gives us more light into that world, and that's why it's also, and it also again it introduced a really rich character in Yoda and one of the most beloved. And I think that there is humor there too, but it's not as funny. But the one thing that we haven't really talked about, I mean, is the other character that gets a good deal of screen time, is Vader. I mean, we see he is a tough manager to please.
You mentioned earlier when we were just talking that this is like Infinity War, and I didn't make that connection for it. I never wasn't even going into it thinking that at all. But it just makes so much sense they have that connection, because I mean, when you think of Infinity War, that is kind of Thanos' story, and obviously it's called The Empire Strikes Back. This is Vader, because the Death Star. I kind of just, since I haven't seen the original Star Wars, is it New Hope?
Yeah. You've never seen it?
No, not
really?
not front to back. So I went on Wikipedia and just kind of read the plot, and I was like, let me just kind of get an understanding. Like, obviously, Star Wars does a great job with the opening crawl and kind of like putting you into the story and not making you feel completely lost. But I was like, I want to get a little bit more oomph behind it, like what happened leading up to this story. And so I was like, okay, this happened. I was like, this seems like actually a pretty fun movie. But I was like, the Death Star, damn, I thought that hung around a little bit longer. I thought the Death Star was more of a presence throughout the whole trilogy. I didn't know it got destroyed in the one movie.
Yeah, it got destroyed.
But so like when you think of it, it's like, okay, Vader's like, my fucking shit got destroyed. I'm coming back, and he comes back in a fucking vengeance, like we were mentioning. Like he's just on Han and Leia's ass. But even when he finally gets them, then he turns his attention to finally Luke, and then he's gonna, he's trying to. He doesn't want to kill him at first. He wants to turn him because when he has that little altercation, but he has the meeting with Palpatine, which that's such a great moment too.
And he tells him, "Search your feelings."
Yeah, it's funny how they bring that back. How Palpatine says it to Vader, and then Vader says it to Luke in the end, and but he doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to like try to turn him. And even when he says like. When he has like the one-on-one with Luke, and he's just like, me and you can like rule the Empire.
He's foreseen it.
Yeah, I feel like obviously he just kind of he's just kind of maybe done with Palpatine as well. He just wants to be done with this shit. He's like, if I can just rule with Luke, then that'll be fine with me as well.
No, we got to talk about,
because that's kind of why he turns in the end, because that's when Palpatine starts killing Luke. He's like, you're not gonna kill my son. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Not on my watch.
What was I going to say though about? There's two other characters that we haven't really spoken about that I think is really great, are really great additions, and that's Lando and Boba Fett.
Dude, I thought Lando got a great entrance, at least to it.
Yeah, I would have loved more of Lando. I know he's in Return of the Jedi, and I cannot wait for the Lando movie with. Gambino.
Allegedly, we never know.
I thought that was in the works.
Until I see like it's in production, I don't believe any of that Star Wars stuff. Cause they've had so many movies that go into production, they get canceled. Like Kevin Feige was supposed to do a movie, Taika Waititi was supposed to do a movie. Like there's been so many different startups and cancellations. Like until it actually gets going, I'm not gonna believe nothing.
That's probably.
I'm sure he's
while cynical, that's probably a safer approach.
It's like, I'm sure he's working on it. I'm sure he's working on a lot of things. I'm sure Donald Glover has a lot of things in the works, but it's like,
he's got the Community movie that they've been talking about.
Yeah, until there's a set and sound rolling and camera action, like I don't believe none of this shit. So that's just where I stand on it.
Well, like when they do introduce him, I feel like him and Han got to be two of the biggest galactic hustlers.
Him and Han. For some reason, Han. Yeah.
Have to be two of the biggest galactic hustlers. I mean, these dudes are they definitely give hustler vibes, swindler.
Well, and it's also like I'm
Cowboys.
I'm more of a fan of Solo than probably maybe the masses. I'm not sure what does Solo get as far as like Rotten Tomatoes, but. Seeing them like when they're like about to have like their interaction, and like Leia's just kind of like, oh, is he friendly? And he's like, oh yeah, I don't like we're friends, but I don't really trust him, and I don't think I think Chewie says something to him, and then he's like, I don't think he holds that still against me, and like it's been a long time. We get obviously a young Han and a young Lando in the Solo movie. So this kind of made me want to go back and watch that movie because I still don't remember that too well. I just remember Woody Harrelson's in it, and then there was some sort of double cross, and Emilia Clarke's in there,
She's in that.
Darth Maul pops up at the end.
Yep.
But this movie does a good job of making me want to go and watch multiple movies, whether it's the prequel to this movie, Episode 4, or continue this and watch Episode 6, or even go and watch Solo. So Empire does a fantastic job of just jumpstarting you, whether it's in this movie or in just springboarding you to like another movie, no matter where you want to go, forward, back, or to the side, doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
This movie, dude. Did you have something? I was going to mention
Solo.
Just about Empire, man. Another reason why I think it's so great. You get the iconic lines of this movie, whether it's that's two, I say you now, or you owe me two now, Junior, and then the I'm your father, the I love you, I know. Like this movie, you get so many iconic lines.
Some great memes.
Yeah, great memes too throughout this. Like this movie is so iconic. It's legendary. It's one of the GOATs overall. I mean, I mentioned in the intro that it's a sci-fi GOAT. I think that's without question. But it's just a cinema GOAT.
Overall. Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing seeing Luke's arc over the course of this movie, seeing like his eagerness to be of help and be of use, and how that leads to rash decisions and emotionally driven decisions, which is something he's got to address and check, because especially if he wants to be a Jedi, because, Jedi, they're kind of known more for their stoicism than they are for being rash and impulsive and undisciplined. And we see what that cost him at the end of this movie. I mean, in some ways he's been humbled. He's wrestling with this revelation that is very painful for him, because he has been lied to, and that, like, he's in a defeated place. His best friend is in carbonite, being taken to Jabba the Hutt, and so I think one of those points that becomes where it becomes painfully clear, and this is actually one of my highlights, is the confrontation, like the the saber fight between Darth and Luke. I mean, just the visuals and the lighting of that, right? We got the blue light of the background with the steam. It's just so, like, such a beautiful set. And then we have the red representing, Vader. And the way that he is essentially toying with him, he's doing it with one hand.
Yeah.
He's fighting with one hand. He's clearly not, he's fighting with one hand behind his back. He's not trying to kill
Vader.
him.
No. He's not going Rogue One when at the end when he's just going through the hallway and he's just choking motherfuckers out, throwing them to the side and stabbing dudes. Like, because he could easily kill Luke if he wanted to.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like, without a problem, without even a blink, he could easily kill him. But he knows the truth about who he is, so he definitely doesn't want to kill him. He doesn't want to kill him.
He also has his mission isn't to kill him either.
No, he wants to try to turn him.
Yeah.
And so, and even though he told Palpatine that he'll either turn or die,
right? He
knows he's not going to kill him. He'll.
You think he knows that?
He'll take him a prisoner.
Do you think he knows that yet? I don't know that he does. Because like the Return of the Jedi, he still seemed very conflicted even when faced with that choice. He ultimately did choose to save Luke, but he seemed conflicted. So it makes me wonder, like, I don't know that he wasn't capable of killing him at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he was. You think he was capable of killing him at this point?
I think he's still loyal to the Emperor and the Empire at this point. Very much so. He's convinced that he can show Luke the right path, which is the dark side.
Like if Palpatine was there and that, like in that setting, he was like, just like, do it, like he said to, like he does in Episode 3 with Dooku. You think he would? You think he would have did it?
Do I think Vader would have done that?
Would have killed Luke?
Man,
I don't know.
I'm leaning towards a no.
Because even when Luke like hits him in the arm and he's kind of like, God damn, you son of a bitch.
Like, I'm going to stop playing with you now.
That's when he chopped his arm off. He's like, you motherfucker, I'm going to stop playing with you. And it's like, that's exactly what you would do with a son. When he's like, when you're trying to tell your kid something, he's like, you got to listen to me, man. And then your kid don't want to listen. It's like, you got to rough him up a little bit.
Dude, I love the cinematography, right? So when Luke knocks Vader off and he's searching for him, he goes downstairs and he's searching for him. That fight in that hallway is just, I love the visuals of that. And again, Vader is just toying with him. He's like throwing shit at him, and Luke is out of his depths. He's just...
and they're trying to tell him that. Yoda and Obi-Wan was trying to tell him that, like, if you leave now, you're going to probably destroy... Pretty much, you're just going to make things worse.
Yeah.
Which... I mean, I guess he did in a way. I mean, he made definitely things worse for himself. Now you have no fucking hand.
He didn't save his friend. Yeah. Leia and them had already gotten away. Lando actually saved Leia.
Yeah.
So he really just endangered himself. And to the points we made earlier, he failed in saving his friend because Luke or Han now is route to Jabba the Hutt. But one thing that does, I think, there is a moment of growth in that defeat, right? Because it's his, use of the Force that connects him to Leia and
Mm-hmm.
calls her to him.
Yeah.
And so like that was one of those moments I think where that was the silver lining, was like he was able to tap into that.
Yeah.
And use that as a way of guiding and saving him. So
And
because Ben told him, or Obi told him, if you go, I cannot interfere.
Yeah.
And damn if he didn't stick to his word.
I mean, do you think though, like he couldn't, or he just didn't want to, or he just wanted, he had like, this has to, like, you gotta let him do it on your own now.
Which do I think? I almost wonder if it was him, something like he was literally unable to do.
He was trying, Qui-Gon Jinn was holding him back.
Well, it's just like,
Let me help the boy.
I wonder if they're limited in their ability to influence the present in that way when they're dead.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so like what? I mean, because I mean, I'm trying to think. Are there examples of the spirit, like Jedi spirit, intervening in that way, as opposed to like kind of being there as like almost like a more of a mentor?
Well, maybe
like a more like a mentor kind of voice.
Well, I don't think it's ever like they showed like the Force, like somebody like from the dead coming through when like during a
battle.
Yeah, during a battle or a moment of action. It's usually a time of like calm and like they're just like meditating or like by a fire.
Reflection.
Yeah, it's a moment when they're like just chilling. So like maybe that's when it was like, I can't help you because like there's just no way I can. Like your mind is too clouded at that moment. I can't get to you or something like that. Like who knows how? I mean, you don't know how the Force exactly works.
Yeah.
But it's just like maybe there's just something with like when you're fighting him at that moment, you're too angry or you're too emotional. You're just too all over the place. You just can't find that connection. Damn, I kind of like. I think I was going to mention something about the last scene. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. But I do mention. Remember you mentioning Boba Fett though. Mm-hmm. Doesn't he though get a bigger role though in like the third movie? I feel like he got like a nice little introduction, but like he didn't get like a crazy big role though in this.
No. I think he does have a bigger role in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's when you get the battle of him like in the desert.
Yeah, I think they're in Tatooine. Is that where they're at? I can't remember where Jabba the Hutt is, if he's on Tatooine.
I'm not really sure.
But yeah,
But that's when he gets swallowed up by that
the planet or whatever that
worm
was.
or whatever. But then he pops up in that Disney Plus show that the first episode was good, and then it didn't really hold up to the standard, unfortunately. Even though Boba Fett is an awesome. I mean, I think any character with that helmet is just gonna look awesome. It's just a great outfit.
Dude,
it looks sick. That Mandalorian shit.
Oh my god, man! Dope. I can't wait for a big fan of the series. Can't wait for the movie. I think it drops next year.
Yeah, and another thing that to highlight about this movie is just the pace. I think we mentioned it earlier, maybe, but just to mention it again. This movie's just over 2 hours, and it just kind of flies by. It feels like they are just like on the, like you see like the first plan when they're on there with all the snow and everything, and then they're on the run, and then Luke goes off and he does his training, and then he comes back. Everything just feels super tight. Nothing like was wasted. There's not many moments where it's just like, all right, this is kind of boring. I felt like everything had my attention. I couldn't find any moments where it felt that could be trimmed or anything like that.
Yeah,
I felt the runtime was very tight. The pace was good.
No, 1,000%. I agree with you. I think that the pacing of this movie is great. Like it's one of those. This for me, another movie where I had the same thought as Jaws. I'm like, I don't feel like there's any wasted moment in this movie. Like all of it is serving a purpose, and the dialogue is great. It moves the story forward. Like, yeah, man, I really enjoyed this movie. It's very entertaining. I love that. I like if it kind of, it's a darker movie. It does have, it's like a little bit different thematically, because people have kind of said, Star Wars, the New Hope one, is kind of a rehash kind of established storyline, the kind of like the hero's journey, right? And it's more or less that, whereas this one, it doesn't quite feel that way because a defeat is such a big part of like the outcome of this movie. And so this movie this movie really is like the second act of the third act of like the 3-act, series, right? I mean, where we have, in Act 2, we have that low point where all is lost kind of vibe almost.
Yeah, that's why you mentioned it was like, so it's like in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, that's such a great comparison. Thinking, since I haven't seen either of these movies, there's some time that passes from episode 4 to 5, right? From like when the Death Star, however that movie ends, with the Death Star getting blown up and shit. How much time do you think passes from like that movie to that movie? Because it seems like this rolls right into Return of the Jedi. Because don't they like grab Han? Like Han's not a Jabba's like that long, is he? Don't they get him like pretty quickly?
I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen.
I feel like they
Return of the Jedi.
I feel like they saved him like rather quickly because that's where they're like headed to. They're like heading to Jabba's, wherever his little hideout is, or his base. I just feel like this. I just feel like this kind of like making a little note. It felt like there was like a little bit of a time jump from episode 4 to 5, but then from 5 to 6, it feels like it kind of just rolls right into it.
Yeah, because but by the time in episode, it's by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, Luke's already completed his training with Yoda, I believe. Right?
Did he? I'm not sure.
I thought he completed his training and he's like an actual Jedi now. But I can't recall. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. It's been a while.
I know. I actually once I get back to the house, I think I actually might turn that movie on. It's got me interested now to check it out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, before we get to do you have anything else you want to talk on? Had any negatives you wanted to speak to, or
nothing that would like really affect the score? Really, like I said, I mentioned that like I feel like Han got a more entertaining story, but that's not a negative. Like Luke's story is like it's a more emotional, like it's a deeper story than Han's. But they
balance each other well, like the way that they kind of alternate between Luke arriving on Dagobah and the Millennium Falcon evading the Empire. Yeah, like that. I mean, the way they cut back and forth, I thought they did a good job with the sequencing there. To our broader point earlier. Yeah,
but one negative that we're gonna have. Episode 3 come out here pretty soon after this is done, and I do mention a negative on there, which is the same negative that's on this movie, is the thing that Luke rides in on when you first see him, and he's riding on. They mentioned it like a totem, or I forget what they called it, but I was just like, what the fuck is that thing? I don't know, like just something with the creatures that they have like riding on. I'm just not a fan of those things.
Is it just the audio of it or the visuals that you don't like, or both?
Both. Audio in the episode 3, visually in this one. Visually, I was like, what the fuck is this? I think it's just because of the time. It just looks old right now, and like you see him just kind of riding across on the snow, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Well, you can tell like it's stop motion.
Yeah. Like the effect of it just looks super funny just to see him just like kind of riding across the snow. But then I'm just not a fan of like that type of creature. I'm just like, what the fuck is that thing? It just looks weird. But it quickly gets mauled by the abominable snowman.
Yeah, the visuals of that were pretty cool. I thought. I mean, were decent. It did its job.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the effect of it up close wasn't too bad. I was just like, what the fuck is that little fucking thing? But there's honestly nothing that stands out as far as like a huge con. I don't think this is like a perfect movie because I'm not like I like Star Wars. I'm not like a huge Star Wars guy. I think I might lean towards Star Trek a little bit more as far as like the movies. I think I like the Star Trek just a little bit more. I mean, this movie is still fantastic and everything. And what an achievement it is, especially coming out in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think I have just any like standout negatives for this movie. I mean, do you?
I mean, no, I'm a fan of this franchise. When they release Star Wars movies, I usually see them in the theater if Yeah, I usually see it in the theater.
I gotta see it there because I gotta hear that crawl or I gotta see the crawl. I gotta hear that theme, man, on that fucking surround sound and shit.
Yeah, it's a very entertaining franchise. This movie is very entertaining. I am a fan of this franchise, but it's not my. I would say similar to you. I mean, I kind of gravitate more towards Star Trek. Kirk, Spock era. Mm-hmm. But it is an impressive movie. Yeah. I think from a writing standpoint, from a visual standpoint, it is a beautiful achievement. I genuinely really enjoyed this movie, and I recommend it too. I think it's an important movie in cinematic history, and there's some movies in history that I can appreciate for the level of technical achievement that they reached for that era, but I'm not going back and watching the original King Kong.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate that and respect that, but I'm not gonna.
There's a certain limit when it comes to the effects where I'm just like,
it's a cutoff.
There's a cutoff where I just can't go back to that. My eyeballs have seen too much.
Yeah,
I've like acclimated too much, and there's too many good stories out there. Like, I can still appreciate the work because they're still pioneers. They paved the way for all the films, but. Like I said, once you come to a certain limit, I can't cross that line any further.
I mean, and here's the thing: like, there are movies that came out in that period. Hell, there are movies that came out in the last 10 years that visually look dated now, and it's not enjoyable.
Ant-Man Quantumania.
Fair enough, but
the effects still look.
This
good.
movie
Bulldog looks like shit.
This movie has been around for decades, and it still looks great. Yeah. We talked about this with Alien. Still looks great. I mean that's the thing. When you use practical effects and set design the way that they do, it just looks. I mean, damn, it's just beautifully done, man. Like and it ages well.
Yeah, I think it's already hard enough to have a movie like stand the test of time, whether it's just like your story and your characters and the acting and directing and all that type of stuff. But then when you bring in like the technical achievement that it has with like the effects and the sets and all that type of stuff, and it still holds up almost 50 years later. Like, that's an achievement in itself, and that's something that can only be tested with time. Yeah. And so every movie is going to be held to that at a certain point when like you see something that comes out years later to see if the jokes still hit, if the effects still hit, like. And obviously Empire just still hits at a major level 50 years later, damn near. Everything still is immaculate pretty much as far as like story, the fucking effects, characters, everything is still great with this movie. And that's coming from me, who I am a Star Wars fan, but I haven't seen the original trilogy in a long time. Like, the Empire is like the only movie that I've seen like most of. The other two, I pretty much haven't seen any of it. But I mean, this movie is just an achievement, man. Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, man, let's pivot to scores, man. I'll kick us off.
Go for it, dude.
Man, this is a 4.5 for me.
Ooh, I thought you were gonna go 5.
This isn't a movie that I personally would say is like one of like my like top movies or favorites, but it is a great movie. I highly recommend people to watch or revisit it if it's been a while. It's yeah, man. To what Toby said earlier, it's an iconic movie and rightfully considered one of the greatest movies ever made.
Man, I think I will agree with you on that. I'm going with a 4.5 as well. Man, I could just kind of see just the hype on Star Wars, like where it started, pretty much. Like why it was so beloved, why it changed so many like lives. When people say like, "Oh my God, I was a child and man, it changed me, man." Like I was like, "Okay, bro, calm the fuck down." And then like I've seen some movies where like it was just like it was moving in a way, but I just never understood like why Star Wars was like held to like that high of regard. But after watching this, I can definitely understand it. Like you said, all the behind the scenes and like why, or like the effects and like what it took to make this movie and how it was brought to life. but just also just the characters. Like Han's awesome, Luke is awesome, Vader is fucking sick. Why he's so iconic as a villain. Even Palpatine, like even his look and his voice. He's such a like an overarching villains to the whole story, to the whole empire. But there's just when you walk away and you don't have like damn near anything like negative or like standouts. Like when you have to actually search for the negatives, you've made a great project. And so 4.5. I don't really go to, like I said, mentioned earlier. We both mentioned that we're more of a Star Trek fan, so I don't really necessarily go to too much Star Wars too often. But when I do, I think Empire is definitely going to be on that list. So 4.5 for me, sir.
You know, something I was thinking about. This franchise is considered, they kind of set the model like the blockbuster. I don't know if it was summer blockbuster, because of how successful these movies were, and how that kind of altered the Hollywood model and how they approached movies, because it just showed how much money they could make, right? And I think, Hollywood, right? We've seen this in Hollywood. Hollywood can be a copycat industry when something really catches fire. And, we've seen that with the superheroes of late. And I think in some ways, I feel like this franchise's legacy is complicated in that regard, because while obviously this is an industry they need to make money, I think that there are some really incredible movies and the stories out there that can be told and have been told that don't fit that mold. And the culture would be lacking if those movies weren't made. It would be at a serious loss, right? Like from the dramas like Shawshank Redemption to, Alien. I mean, a lot of really great movies. Hell, dude, think about it. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we reviewed. I mean, that went on to become one of the highest grossing indie movies. You know what I mean? Like, so I think I feel like that's a little bit of the complicated part of this movie's legacy. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling. What do you think? I don't know.
I want to make a quick note. I talked about Solo. That got a 69% from fans, 63 from critics. 69 from critics, 63 from fans, which isn't bad. But then also, like, I see, like, I just type in Solo movie, and then a Solo Star Wars pops up, and the first thing on YouTube is what went wrong, and then it has Solo there, and I'm like, 69% is not a bad score. I mean, Is it like 93? Like, no. Could it be better? Of course. But what went wrong? I mean, I don't know. I feel like 69 and a 63 is still a solid performance. I feel like people probably just wanted, Harrison Ford, to be honest.
I don't think enough people. I question how many people gave that movie a fair shake when they watched it, because I don't think a lot of people. I think a lot of people just wrote it off and were eager or ready to hate on it.
I think so. I think it's just because this came out, and then when did this came out in 2008, and Force Awakens.
Solo came out in 2008?
2018.
2018, yeah.
And Force Awakens came out in 2015. So we just saw Han Solo in Force Awakens. So people are probably like, bro, we just saw Han. We just saw Harrison Ford. Why are we getting this other Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Fuck this new Harrison Ford. I'm giving a thumbs down, brother.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we got a bunch of those type of people that didn't even like you said, didn't even give it a fair shot. I just wanted to make a note of that. I mentioned Solo earlier because Empire made me want to just seeing Chewie and Solo just kind of having their banter with one another. I'm like, man, I'm surprised like they didn't think about making a spinoff. But I guess I wonder when did that actually start catching fire, like spinoff movies. Because they were doing sequels to movies. I wonder when they started doing
worse, remakes. God, man. Ooh. I mean, that's been a big thing over the last 10, 15 years now. Remakes.
I just wonder what like the first like big one was of like this is a spin-off of like the original, like this is Godfather, but this is called God's Sister. Like I wonder what the the first the first one that like started to catch fire, that started like the big trend of spin-off movies?
Damn, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think we'd have to figure that out at a
We in the
later
weeds.
time. Yeah, we in the weeds now. But
Oh man.
I'm about to say, all right, what's the score? I think we already gave our scores.
Oh man.
Shit, we
it's
puffing on
that amnesia haze.
I know. Shit, it kicked in.
Oh man. Well, that's our episode this week. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.